GLHF and Game 1 of the quarterfinals between Tsunami Clan and Absolats B is beginning, and the first map is going to be Conquest on the Mediterranean, the home map of Tsunami Clan. Hey boss, yeah, I did send the broadcast, so I'm glad that it actually worked for at least some of you players to actually bring you here into this very interesting matchup. And well, let's from the very start have a look at what we are given on this very interesting map. So the first we have a look at is Miracle Man, who is spawning in a flank position on the left. You can see that the hero OP is as a pocket for Absolats, whereas on the right flank is Mires. That's kinda, well, it's actually not half bad, because the pocket is low-key and he can potentially be quite safe, but it would be much better if actually this guy Mires was in the pocket as a set. I would be liking that a lot more. And well, we can see in the last moment Miracleman switched from Zeus actually into Oranos. So yeah, that's going to be a bit different as we are having double Zeus on TSM side, whereas zero Zeuses or Greeks altogether on Absolute side. So nicely positioned dock, as we are seeing those triple fish right here, not any kind of problem for him. Of course, you can see the docks in the positioning that are very close to the water, so obviously, yet again, it's going to be quite important for both of those teams to win the water altogether if they don't really go for some very fast advance onto the land, but it usually doesn't happen on this map. Looking how they are going to be facing a double Zeus and potentially double restoration, or quite assuredly double restoration, I don't really expect anything else. That could be some kind of idea, especially looking at the aggressive-minded gods. Looking at Loki, Oranos, and Set, those three are a pretty aggro combo, and I wouldn't really be all that surprised if they made for some aggressive push on either right side or the left. You can see that on the right, that would definitely be more welcome for them, as there is Atlantis, the Oranos, whereas on the left there are the double Zeuses from TSMs, and that could be something that they would be interested in. The first scouting is already happening on the left from Absolats as Miracleman is fighting his blue opponent player, and he knows he's in for quite an interesting game, as yet again I have to repeat, player is probably the best Zeus player in the game right now, and this is definitely not going to be easy on basically a home map for Zeuses. Looking at the pocket dock placement, not really bad either. Very nice position, very nice position of the fish as well. Though what is slightly worrisome for him is that he's very close to his ally Mirais on the right, and they might be potentially stealing fish from each other. This is definitely one that will be contended by both of them. And well, I'm kind of thinking that Mirais should be already moving a bit to the right in here, and even though he has positioned the dock very nicely, right in the middle of the peninsula, the same as his purple opponent, they are slightly spawned close together, and yeah, you can see that exactly Red is recognizing that he needs to go somewhere else, not to make life difficult for his ally at the early stage. Otherwise, in his base, we don't see all that much interesting stuff, just that he is going for Orok at the very start and not anything else, not going for the chickens in here, which we have seen in here from Miracleman. Yeah, I did remember it correctly. And he's already dropping a temple, so that's advanced at like 410. That's not bad. That's pretty usual on Mediterranean, and it seems like that it will be pretty much the same for Latmires, who is also going for a faster advance, about 430 with the temple being dropped about now. Otherwise, quite a lot of fish in here, but he's already quite nicely scouted by Atlantis. And, well, even though Red might be actually wanting to build a rock here, that's... oh well. I was just going to say that it's going to be actually discovered by his opponent, but not really. And, well, we are also going to be looking somewhere else on the map, as there is already action going on. And yeah, it really seems like that we will be in for a very aggressive lineup, or rather strategy from Absolats, and it will be something very different than what we are used to on this map. Unfortunately for Hero OP, who has been building the temple in here, Atlantis has noticed quite well, and he's already building buildings right around his town center, meaning that he is going to be having an easier time defending against any kind of attack on his main TC, and yeah, that's a bit of a problem, and something that maybe Lats did not expect all that much. But a very nicely positioned spy, and this is basically telling you that Atlantis will be under pretty heavy attack very, very soon, even though he's right now moving somewhere else for his food. Or rather moving into the wood line, as he needs all that much more wood for the classical fighting. Well, let's see how much of a push there's going to be from Absolas B. I would be even expecting... that's actually quite a lot of gold being gathered by him. And he's not gathering anything else. Oh well, this is going to be some 15 cents shenanigans. I wouldn't really be surprised at all, because this is basically telling you that he's gathering quite a lot of gold for extra TC. And yeah, I fully expect 15 cents onto the TC of his opponent Atlantis, and let's see if he actually expects something like this. And with Heimdall, yeah, that's definitely, most definitely going to happen. And let's see if this is going to be successful from them. With his strong double coming in then. Let's see, let's see. And I wouldn't be, or rather, it would be curious if actually TSMs opted to go for restoration in here. Yeah, here we go. You can see that yellow is a bit late, because the restoration could obviously, yeah, and Hermes from TSM player, and very nicely used train, so very good job by Upsolas, and this is definitely going to cost the TC to his opponents, because he doesn't have any kind of help in here, even though the fan was sending the Minotaur right on place here. That's not going to be enough, because those villagers are pretty strong from the Egyptians, and they should be taking the TC without any kind of problem. Unfortunately for them though, he's already to the next age, as was expected. So goodbye TC, and right now they should be building it themselves. And is it going to be enough? It should be, but they really right now need to depend on Hero OP doing his job, because he needs to protect the villagers building the TC, and that's everything. That's everything about this strategy, because if they cannot build the TC, yeah, well, you can kinda guess that it would be a very fast game indeed. On the water, let's have a very quick look. There's not really all that much happening, just then going for a bit of a fight between him and Hero OP, but I don't really expect there to be something substantial happening. But at the same time, Absolats are not abandoning the water altogether. You can see that Miracle Man, the only one who wasn't paying attention to the water battle, or rather to the fight with the TC here, is having quite a lot of navy and fighting basically 1v1 with player. And yeah, that's going to be quite interesting to see if they are somehow going to recuperate on the water, because obviously Red is not going to be having any presence at all, as he's building right around the TC. And well, also let's see if Atlantis will be able to survive this. He's right now running with at least few of those villages. He's having 2, 3 and 4, but unfortunately for him, he's already in here with the spy, and that's a pretty big problem, especially if he comes with those villages in here as well, because that's obviously going to be very easy for purple to raid, or with red as well. But let's see. Let's see if that's going to be making any kind of difference. Obviously, these heroes together with the mythical units, with the Minotaur and the Centaur, are not going to be enough, and I'm kinda curious if maybe Green is going to be building some military stuff or whatnot. So far it doesn't seem so. Neither him nor player are preparing for any kind of land offensive, and I kinda think that they should be. I kinda think that they should be, because they are so far concentrating on the water, and if they are God of Guards, you can see that yellow, unfortunately for Absolats, is having enough resources for a TC. They might be in a pretty big trouble, because it seems like that Mires will be quite ready with this military very soon indeed. Trying to take down the towers so that he isn't annoyed by them, in case yellow was actually researching them. And let's have a look on the water. How's it looking with the battles in here? Miracle Man seems to be switching a bit to the right, helping his ally Hero OP fight against Fan, whereas Atlantis, of course, is having no presence at all, and same is true for Mires. So it's basically a 2v2 on the water, with Edge should be getting, or rather going, into Tsunami's clan's favor. So it seems like that it definitely is, because obviously these Atlantean ships are not going to be strong enough against all those 3 RMS, and well, we should also be looking on the left, where Miracle Man is already having a few army, or rather a little army here, and he might be attempting to do a bit of a raiding on his opponent. It's going to be quite safely to raid. See first military building coming in from player, and that's for Alpines, and he's also expecting a bit of an extra attack on him, so he is going for the towers, basically so just he is safe and impenetrable to any kind of early aggression from his opponents. So that's just a cleanup of the base of Atlantis, but unfortunately for Absolat, he's already quite back into the game with the TC, and since I think he hasn't lost a single villager in the fight, it's probably not going to be as dangerous or as damaging for his economy overall as they probably hoped for. So let's see if he can maybe just by himself retake his own base. So far I'm really liking how Tsunami Clan are reacting. How they're actually reacting to this play, as they are not panicking at all, and they are playing it very safe. And especially, it seems like that Atlantis is pretty good, and with those heroes that are very strong units, so he should be in a pretty good spot to defend against the next attack that is coming here. What was also quite interesting to notice is that Atlantis was actually having quite a lot of boars or other pigs right next to his TC, so that's a very nice bonus for Mirez, who definitely welcomed it, and he seems to be having a pretty decent echo right about now. Not anything in his own base all that much, so he should be thinking about next gold very soon. But he does have one at the right, and potentially one at the very forefront in here, and well, so far it seems like the water is going to be the next important stage of the battlefield, but really, I don't expect it to be all that hard for TSMs, especially right now. Oh well, with yellow joining the fight, and red's still not ready, and not even participating. You can see that he's just building fishing ships, and that's not going to work out for them all that much. So I kind of think that TSMs will be moving in to basically make sure that the water is theirs, whereas on the land, we see some second TCs being built by Miracleman, Fan, and Player. Right now, player finishing at the back, and he's also under attack in the forefront. So he needs to defend. He needs to defend, and well. Seems like a pretty decent army, but looking at the defenses already with the extra tower and already seeing the stable Endrache range, I don't really expect that player is underestimating this position, and he is in a pretty safe spot, I think, and there shouldn't be all that much that Miracleman could be doing. So it would probably be slightly better for him to concentrate on the Echo and advance into the next age, and potentially deny his opponent the TCs altogether, because that's going to be probably the next important spot in the game. Let's have a look at this big water battle. Because somehow you can see that actually Fan got himself off position as he's fighting with a few boats from Atlantis against pretty strong navies of both Miracleman and Hero OP, whereas, yeah, player is somewhere else, just trying to ravage the countryside or shoreline of his opponent Miracleman, just like that. Yeah, successfully doing that, and I don't really think that Fan should be having all that much of a problem with the fight. Potential restoration, still has one, right? Yeah, he still. I kind of think this would be a pretty good spot for him, because he would be just fighting, not anymore, obviously, because he has lost too many boats, but if he has cast it a bit earlier, he was in a pretty good spot with many boats, and that would be basically like an extra army for him, which would eliminate any kind of extra bonus that his opponent's Absoluts did have with the double against him. Well, he opted not to. That's interesting, but we should also be looking at the land, where finally Mirez has amassed enough army and he's going for a bit of an offensive into his opponent yet again. Building quite a lot of priests, trying to put yellow out of the position, and looking at the half that Willie's in here. That could be a bit worrisome for Atlantis, because obviously with those guys being halved, that they should be very susceptible to raiding, and definitely, oh, yeah, he needs to be careful about this gold and probably should be moving somewhere else, like at least the back gold or the gold in here, and hide together with Fence Wheelies, because obviously this is quite close to the battlefield, and with Mirez playing quite well so far, and potentially Hero OP joining him sometime soon, that's going to be very easy for him to go into the offensive in here. Gyro Ballistas, or rather Gyro Ballistas, are going to be pretty correct unit against all those Spearmen, and looking at the full-on army right now by Fen, I kind of thinking that Mirez cannot do anything himself, just by himself, and he will need some extra help, but that's not going to be all that easy, because you can see that on the water, that's basically where Hero OP is all, with all his attention and all his economy, and I don't really think it's working all that well for them, because obviously, even though they are chasing further around, it's still meaning that player is free to do whatever he wants, and he is disrupting the economy of both Miracleman and the purple player, Hero OP. Looking at the mainland, the SM player is actually moving in for the TC. And, well, he doesn't face really all that much of an opposition. You can see that Miracleman has captured his own, and I kind of question this choice. Because looking how close those two TCs are, I would be kind of thinking that if he was going for a front TC, he might just as well have picked this one, and it wouldn't make really any kind of difference at all, and he would be denying TC to his opponent quite nicely. And well, yeah, these are the small plays that actually move you ahead in the game, but well, not really any longer. TC restoration being cast on the water battle quite probably, as it wasn't cast in here, and well, yeah, tough situation for TSMs, but not really all that much, I think. They are just a bit out of position, and once those Gyro Ballistas are in a pretty good spot together with all those Hippigons and the rest of the army of Fen, they will be in a pretty good spot to deal with this nuisance, as really The strength of Cairo Ballistas is in their numbers, and once they are numerous enough, they are going to be pretty strong, especially against Loki and his archers in here. So yet another TC being captured by Fern. That's going to be the third one for him. And it seems like the TSMs have defended quite nicely on the left, whereas in here, that's not a half bad idea actually from Mires to build the towers in here, because they need to defend this part of the map, because once they lose this TC, basically their whole strategy is going to be coming, or rather plummeting to ground, and really this is just last hope for them, and if they can defend this TC, they are still very much in it for the rest of it. So this is going to be a very important battle, but looking yet again at the Cairo Ballistas. Okay, Robalista, that's probably not going to work all that much for Absolats. And let's have a look at the battlefield, where Miracleman is having to face quite tough opponent in player. Player is doing, or rather doing pretty right thing with building those walls, which are not really all that for defense. This one probably is for defending the trade route that is coming in here in like some minutes when he advances into the next age. But this one is very important as it is limiting the maneuvering possibilities of his opponents and giving himself an opportunity to actually run behind the wall and get away from all the army by Miracleman. So that's very nicely played and is going to be helping him quite nicely. Going for a bit of a raiding on the economy potentially if he can find something. And well, you can see that Miracleman is very unaware and is going to be quite nastily surprised very soon indeed. Let's see what he can find in here. Potentially those farmers. But looking at the amount of applies, he could actually be taken on the TC. Not really with the army, but I'd be kind of thinking that he might be making an attempt at this. Or some kind of, I don't know, other buildings in here. He could be destroying absolutely anything. But so far he just had a look around the purple's or rather teal's base and he knows where everything is. So he's probably going to be going a bit through bottom and oh well. Yeah, this is kind of badly played by Merkelman because he definitely should have seen this coming. Unfortunately, he didn't, and of course, this is going to cost him this villager and of course some extra gathering time from those. I kind of think this is also a pretty good engagement for him, as he is going to be winning with the strong units of the Greeks of course. So he doesn't have any kind of upgrades like mediums or whatnot. And here you can see that the Atlantean units are not going all that well. And it's a pretty tough moment for Teal as he's losing second villager and is under pretty heavy pressure, which means that he cannot put pressure on his opponent in here. Looking at the water, Miracleman is still having a pretty decent presence on blue, and it almost seems like that actually TSMs have given up on the water, which is slightly unexpected. Because they definitely were winning at one stage of the game, but Absoluts did not give up and they are right now ruling the waters, but I'm kinda afraid for them that not for much longer, looking how both the Zeuses are actually through into the heroic age, and this will result, of course, in the sea chips, and that's something that bit of idols in here that actually classical age units are not able to deal with. So let's have a look around. I would be expecting that heroic age exactly will be coming for Mires into Hathor. Whereas Loki is into Bragi as well right now, and he is in a pretty big trouble because he's having quite a lot of willies on the left. And actually, Miracleman definitely doesn't have the army to deal with this. Even with the reinforcements, you can see that player is still having a huge amount of units, and he is going to be denying the gathering in here for quite some time longer, especially if he goes there. Well, he doesn't. He definitely wants to just take on the army head on, and well, that's not a bad choice. But at the same time, it would be much more preferable to actually go in for the echo and basically just let Miracleman chase him around and do nothing. That would be just as successful because obviously it would buy him some extra time in the middle to potentially make something happen with the heroic age in there. Right now it seems like that that player will be actually losing in here due to the reinforcements of Miracleman, so good job. A good job by him, and well, looking in here, yeah, exactly. This is exactly what the player needed to buy time for, and that's a fortress, Petrobolai, and with the nice wall in here, could buy this, and he doesn't even need the advantage of the water to get rid of the TC of Miracleman. So Miracleman will be at 2 TCs very soon. Whereas on the water he is winning, but on the mainland there's quite a bit of battle going on next to the TC of Atlantis, but since they are not moving, and I'm talking about Absoluts somewhere forward anytime soon, well, I probably would be guessing that this is going to be very nicely defended and easily defended by Tsunami Clan. You have seen the fortified TC, they're going to help quite a lot, and with the siege, yet again, the Cairo Ballistas are exactly the correct choice by Atlantis, and they are making quite a lot of difference. You can see Mythical Age from player going for a Titan right off with Mythical Age by Fen as well, and they are definitely heading for it because first Heroic Age, or rather first, the last Heroic Age is coming in from Miracle Man just now, and yeah, I'm kinda afraid that it's not going to be enough for them. You can also see that Atlantis is right now popped, so maybe he will be advancing into the next age as well once he has the 45 TCs, because obviously he cannot do anything else. He doesn't have TCs free and he needs to do something to regain this one, and the only thing that he can do is just delete it, and with the Mythical Age of his Zeus alive, that should be all that much easier right about now. So let's see what Fen is going to do. He should be basically researching absolutely everything right now. Yeah, you can see that he's going for medium infantry, and it's probably going to be switched into Myrmidons or Hippicons, or rather, Myrmidons or Hoplites. I would be expecting a bit more Myrmidons, looking how he's fighting against a combined army of literally all the possible counters in here, and yeah, they are going to be pretty strong against that, with the support of some range by Atlantis. On the left side, of course, as we have seen, the TC has fallen finally, with some extra help by Helpline, and of course also the Colossi, or rather the Colossus, and well, this should be pretty easy for a player right now going through the left side, because I don't expect all that much of a help by the opponent, and even though he's raiding at the very back on the economy of Fen, I don't think it's going to be all that much enough, even though the damage is being dealt, and TSMs definitely have to be careful, so that they somehow don't let the battle trickle between their fingers. Underwater you can also see the comeback, of course, with the sea chips. So far, Miracle Man is going to lose those boats. And do we see something extra from other Absoluts? Not really, just a bit of an economy by both purple and red, but that's about it. And you can also see that player is already moving in with the Pekasai, trying to make sure that he sees what's going to happen in here. So that's probably going to be Underworld Passage. Let's see if he has some kind of army somewhere hidden. So far, not. So he seems to be just taking the direct route in here. And is that maybe actually for Fen, I wouldn't be all that surprised, because it doesn't seem like the TSM player actually needs to do something extra on the left, but I don't see an extra army from here. Just a Spirit Streets at the back, with some extra defense by the towers for Fen, and I'm not exactly sure what he's right now worried about, but well, we have seen that Mirage has lost a TC. And well, that wasn't really this one, this was one and here, and this is basically what it means to own the water in the later game on Medit. Nicely played, and we see the Underworld Passage stealing TC actually. And that's kind of surprising, because Hero OP wasn't having enough army in here, or he wasn't paying enough attention really. He's going 40 right now, but without paying attention to his TC, this is going to be falling into players' hands very easily, and this is just making things yeah, quite simple for TSMs, and they shouldn't be having any kind of problems dealing with this game from now on. So yeah, that's going to be 4th TC for player without any kind of problem. Nicely played, and since he is keeping his opponent Miracle Man at just 2, I don't expect anything to be happening anytime soon. We see a Vortex at the very back being used by Miracle Man, but I'm not exactly sure if it is going to be enough. Looking at how few units actually it transported for Miracle Man, I'm not sure that there is going to be anything significant that he can do here. Because the Heka Gigant is basically the only threat to the Underworld Passage, and yeah, with the Heracles in here and some extra units coming through the Underworld Passage, that's probably going to be quite easy for them. Tartarian Gate, or rather Titan Gate in here, with Tartarian Gate from Atlantis being cast somewhere in here. Actually very nice position, because it is denying both the economy of the food in here, and also those guys will be in range of the town center, and they are going to be trying to take it down with the tier inside, but yeah, of course the tier will be finished without all that much of a problem. Horus for Mires also finished in the TC on the battlefront, and this is a pretty big problem, of course, as Mires is right now using the tornado to get rid of the Titan ABG successfully, so good job, and nicely played by Mires, but probably not going to be enough for them, because obviously on the left, even though there's not any kind of strong attack by player happening in the middle, he's going to be absolutely owning them, and what's more important, he has yet another TC in here, and he is going to be basically killing the trade route, which is very crucial for the Egyptian player at least. Nicely played so far, with the army trickling in by player. and flame weapons and Fimbulwinter, and that's going to be resulting in a pretty strong battle in the forefront. Not exactly sure. Yeah, there apparently seems to be some kind of lag by Fan. I have noticed that a bit earlier. But it might be just late game, like, or just shouldn't be really happening, but it might be explained by the late game because there's quite a lot of happening all around the map, and I would be thinking that that could be the cause in here, especially with the extra animations by the flame weapons and the Fimbulwinter. That's really quite a load on all the computers in here. It seems like that unfortunately Fan's computer is not handling that very happily. So let's see about this attack. Quite a decent amount of Hersirs by Hero OP, but let's have a look at the upgrades. He doesn't have any. He has just copper weapons, and that's definitely not enough. Looking at the mercenaries, they are going to be helpful, but with medium spearmen, with no upgrades at all at 23 minutes, yeah, I'm kinda afraid that Absoluts cannot expect anything great from this kind of army by themselves. Not anything by Atlantis, but that's understandable, as he was quite heavily rushed at the very start, but there's actually some army by Green. Some Hippicons at the back, with pretty decent upgrades coming in through the Forge of Olympus, of course. But, well, at the same time the presence is not really strong. He has just basically wasted a lot of resources into the Titan Gate, so that might be something that explains this, and it might be actually allowing Absoluts to go somewhere forward in here, and potentially even take the TC, so let's see if they will be able to do so. But with player going into ceasefire, which is basically only because of this TC and the attack, basically just trying to make sure that Fan can recuperate, and I kind of think this is a correct decision, because Fan was in some kind of tough situation. Yeah, that definitely could have been a bit more optimized, obviously, but otherwise, where is his pop? The water, not all that much. Just a few hammer ships in here, not really all that much of a problem. You can see that Mires right now will be having extra TC, so that's going to be 4 for him. And that might be also some kind of chance, because obviously this will mean that at least momentarily he will be having quite decent amount of population limit for extra army, and that could be helping him push through the battlefield at the top. And really, I would be expecting that it will be something that they should be attempting as soon as possible, because if they don't make use of that, they will lose the TCs very soon to the water battles, the siege ships from TSMs. Bit of an attack coming on from the left. You can see, unfortunately, for a player that Miracleman has noticed, and well, he is very nicely camped in the middle. And even though Miracleman is trying to take down the TC, that shouldn't really be working all that much. Well, I was going to say that, but looking how player is actually having quite a lot of hammer ships, but not paying any attention at all. That's quite surprising to me, and really unexpected, because he should be quite more acutely aware of where his units actually are, and well, he should be getting rid of it sometime soon. With another attempt being made at the TC, with the Tartarian finally gone, but unfortunately for TSMs, these Tartarian sports are actually taking care of the army, army by player, and well, he needs to get rid of those just by himself. But goodbye TC, this is not going to survive any longer, as Zero OP is right now dropped to 0. Goodbye. Whereas in the offensive, not any kind of substantial attack coming in. And even though Mires is at 5 TCs because he has been able to capture both the one in here next to the water, both TCs next to the water, I'm kind of afraid for him that it might not be enough, because they are not basically able to push for the TC. They don't have any catapults in here. I'm trying to get rid of the one at the bottom, but I kind of think they should be concentrating one by one, because they seem to be Absoluts fighting 2 battles at once, and it doesn't seem to be working all that well. And yep, Miracleman right now is resigning, because he is recognizing that player is getting out of hand with 6 TCs right now, and that's not going to be anything that he can deal with at all. Nicely played, very gutsy strategy at the very start, getting rid of the TC of Atlantis very soon, but unfortunately Absoluts weren't able to kill any villagers at all. That allowed Atlantis to come back into the game rather easily from there. Interesting and very unusual, and that's what we like to see on this map that is played very often. So let's have a look at the post game. Let's have a look at the post game with player. Yeah, winning absolutely everything. He was playing well, and yeah, quite frankly, he is the best player in this match. So that just goes hand in hand with the high scores and pretty good economy, and overall pretty nice play. Nice military count by Mires, but fortunately wasn't really all that worth it. Or worth it. It was worth it. They were fighting very well at the very top, but in the long run, the Zeuses are just too strong, and if they cannot delete the player like Atlantis altogether, they just cannot hope to survive, because if they were able to kill him, really, catch his villagers and kill them all together, then they might have a pretty good shot, because they will be fighting 3 versus 2. But with him being basically alive all the time, really make all that much of a difference. Yeah, you can see that he didn't really drop in the economy at all, even though he has lost the economy, or he has lost the town center. See, he didn't lose any villages. Yeah, he just didn't build any, which is also a bit of a nerf to him, let's say, but without losing anything, he still was having like 20 villages or what, or rather, no, about here. Yeah, about 20 villages, and that's really strong number. Alright then, 20 villages with the boats, of course. GG then.